After 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Our Kenyan police have rescued 70 foreign nationals, mostly Ethiopians, who were being held in a house in Nairobi by a suspected human trafficking ring. Following a tip-off, officers freed the foreign nationals, including 66 Ethiopians and 4 Eritreans, who were confined in a house in Ruai area. That's according to police statement on US social media platforms. And for more on this, so we are joined on the line by Channel Africa News Correspondent in Kenya, Daniel Ominde. Daniel, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Daniel, have the police established who the owner of the property is, and at the health of these foreign nationals that were being held in this house? What is their condition?
So, from the latest that we have from the police and from the authorities is that the owners of the particular residence are still being tracked by the authorities. They have not yet able to reach them and arrest them. But when it comes to the people, the 70 people who are foreigners who mostly are from Eritrea and Ethiopia, who are arrested during that raid, they are currently being processed for repatriation, and this is in line with the normal police procedures, because they look at them as victims rather than criminals in this particular case.
And is it known when they arrived in Kenya, and what's the next step in terms of just reuniting them with their families? You touched on the fact that now the process of now sending them back home, but did they get enough information from these young men?
Well, they've not given details in terms of what their interrogation has been like and what sort of information they're getting from that, because again they're trying to keep that information closely guarded, because they're using it to try and unmask the human trafficking rings that have been operating in Kenya for quite a while now. This particular bust that happened yesterday is not the first that has happened in the country. Over the last couple of months, there's been intensified immigration. Efforts by police and immigration authorities to arrest human traffickers, most of them who traffic residents from Ethiopia, Burundi, Tanzania, and they come through Kenya as they are being trafficked into either for Southern Africa to look for work in the Southern African countries. South Africa itself is a primary destination, and others are also trafficked into the Middle East countries, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and those kinds of the countries in that region, basically to also work in those countries. But for the Middle East ones, sometimes some of them work in situations that have been likened to sort of like modern day slavery.
Now, Daniel, turning our attention to the issue of Russia and the Ukraine war, families of Kenyan recruits duped with the promises of work in Russia, who ended up on the front lines of the fighting in Ukraine, have petitioned the country's parliament to ban the recruitment of Kenyans for Moscow's war. Now, how many Kenyans were recruited? Do you have figures, or does anybody have the numbers with regards to Kenyans who are in the front lines in Ukraine, under the guise of working for Russia?
So there's a report that was recently presented to Parliament by the National Intelligence Service. According to that report, it says that 89 Kenyans are currently in the front lines fighting for Russia. There are about 39 others who are currently also hospitalized after incurring injured after being victims of injuries in the war front. And then there are about 28 others who are known to have traveled there, who are known to have been part of that war, but they are currently unreachable. So they are classified as missing in action. and then there's one confirmed death so far. The scenario in which how this case happened, because most of these people who are being taken there, they're being smuggled into Russia. At the point of recruitment, a lot of them are not actually being told that they're going to work, going to the battlefront to fight. The human trafficking rings that operate in this area, for those that we've managed to interview and talk to some of the ones who escaped, they were promised different kinds of jobs. Some of them were promised just civilian jobs in different sectors across Russia, and then there are others who are promised to work in the military industry. Yeah, that producing weapons, producing equipment that help the military, but not being in the battlefront itself. But then when they get there, when they get to Russia, that particular situation changes. So that is the sort of thing that the authorities here are dealing with. There is not a formal recruitment agency that are recruiting people to fight in China, not China rather, but Russia. The Russia's foreign ministry, and especially through their local embassy here in Kenya, they said it is not uncommon for them to enlist foreigners to their military, but they do not have an active recruitment process in Kenya. So it means those who are doing it either are doing it illegally, or the Russian government is just not being straight in terms of the strategies of enlisting foreign fighters into their military operation currently ongoing in Ukraine.
Now, just in wrapping up, Daniel, has there been any response from the parliament in Kenya with regards to this petition from the families of the people who are now known to be in Russia and Ukraine at the Ukraine war?
Well, Parliament has not issued any particular results. Information regarding the petition that they received yesterday, but the Kenyan government has, because this is a case that has been ongoing back here for quite a while now. The Kenyan government has already instituted prosecutions against some agents who are part of the recruiting some of these young men to fight in China. We currently have at least 2 active cases in Kenyan courts, but this is this is an evolving issue, and of course we will be looking forward to see how the case unfolds.
Daniel, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We'll leave it there for today.
Thank you for having me.
That's Daniel Ominde, Channel Africa's news correspondent in Kenya, joining us on the line.
Your life, your rhythm, your Africa.